Hi, it's Dennis Daly. During the early 1950s, listeners to CBS Radio were treated to nearly 120 episodes of one of the best detective shows of all time. So I'm focusing in on the adventures of Philip Marlowe. There were many differences between the Philip Marlowe played by Van Heflin and the one played by Gerald Moore, and not just the texture of their voices. The writing was punchier during the incarnation of Philip Marlowe we remember best with Gerald Moore, and the Van Heflin shows didn't have this introduction.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave.
And you know, in many ways, just that opening to Philip Marlowe, I think, makes the Gerald Moore Philip Marlowe all that more exciting. Let's go back now again to those CBS years and two of the adventures of Philip Marlowe.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. This time, rain slashing a glass roof, an old man's curiosity, and an imaginary imp out of place. They all became important when two people died violently so a third could make a killing.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Fatted Calf.
Storm of the season came as a surprise. It always does in L.A., where somehow or other people are never ready for it. It's funny in a town where people are ready for anything. Where every year the opening flash of lightning stands nerves on edge and cracks composure like it was so much Dresden china. And by 5 o'clock in an afternoon of driving rain and thick gray sky, I was no exception. I wasn't helped any by the arrival of a special delivery letter. A $100 bill enclosed which dragged me out of my suddenly cozy office, into my car and over to Studio City in the San Fernando Valley, where, according to the letter, Junius Poppy, the veteran cartoonist and creator of the impish Peter Pageant comic strip, wanted to see me at once. But as I wound up the spiral of macadam called Sunsweat Drive toward number 3840, I forgot about the storm around me and wondered instead about the man I was going to meet. Wondered just how many parts pixie the originator of a half-leprechaun, half-very funny human being who tickled the nation's satiric funny bone daily from coast to coast was going to be. And when I was parked in front of the place, which was a few million raindrops bouncing off a roof that was all glass, out of my car and going to the front door, I'd made up my mind. Junius Poppy had to be small, slight, delicate, and maybe self-effacing, but certainly pleasant.
Mr. Marlowe?
How wrong can I be? Oh, Mr. Poppy.
Yes, of course. Come in. You're getting wet. Follow me. But don't touch anything. You're soaked.
Junius Poppy was tall, heavy-set, gruff, and a crab. I dripped little puddles of water behind him through a long hall into a studio which was a half a dozen easels under twice as many fluorescent lights, and a litter of Peter Pageant drawings everywhere. Then, while Mr. Poppy did not offer me drink, cigarette, or even chair, I became resourceful. I took off my own coat, dropped it in a corner where it sloshed into a disgruntled heap, and I defiantly lit a cigarette and started to...
Please, I despise tobacco.
Oh, excuse me.
Now, first, Mr. Marlowe, a few facts. I've been drawing Peter Pageant for 27 years, but unlike most of the syndicated cartoonists, I employ no staff. We use no material, allow nothing to be published that I haven't created personally, down to the last stroke of the pen. However, I do have an assistant who serves two purposes. One, he inks in the balloon.
What?
The circles where the words go.
Oh.
And two, and more important, he watches me work daily so that when I'm gone, yes, even cartoonists die, you know, Peter Pageant will continue uninterrupted. My assistant is named Sid Kagan, and he, to be more exact, his wife, Louise, is the reason I'm hiring you.
Twice I opened my mouth to ask a question, but twice he waved the question aside. So liking him less by the minute I listened to him tell me what for the past week Hagen had been. First preoccupied, then upset, and finally rebellious. Poppy, a bachelor who didn't want to lose a good man because of anything as trivial as a marital problem, had investigated and learned that Louise Kagan had spent a week in San Francisco recently. But he hadn't learned any more because an appointment he had made with her to talk it all over since the sleuthing was not subtle.
It was the
Hadn't
day
quite
before
come off.
yesterday, Marlowe. We were to meet at a cocktail lounge. I was early, and so I saw her come in and sit down. She's the type of tall brunette you don't miss. I was about to start toward her when she suddenly leaped from her table and hurried out of the place.
For no reason?
Please don't interrupt me, Marlowe. Of course she had a reason. She was frightened at the sight of a man approaching her. Oh, he was very ugly. Patent leather hair, sallow complexion, eyes that belonged on a hawk. He followed her out, but she got away from him. And then he disappeared, too.
Louise hasn't called you since to explain?
Until late last night, no. And then she apologized and lied about why she didn't show up. Forgot, she said.
Casual-like, huh?
Overly casual-like, Mr. Manor. Please don't touch those drawings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, now. We made another appointment for 6:30 tonight at a different place. An artist hangout called the Talisman on Lancashire. This time, Marlowe, I want you to go in my place. Perhaps my approach is too mechanical.
There's just a chance. Now, Mr. Poppy, a few questions. First, the Kagan's home address.
717 Magnolia Boulevard.
717. And Kagan himself, he's still working for you regularly?
Yes, although he called this morning, said he was sick. Now, please, ask your questions quickly. I must return to my work. Peter Paget's schedule, 4 frames a day, hasn't been interrupted in 27 years. Oh, here, this might interest you. Here, take a look at this. The last frame has a lot of detail.
Yeah, it has. Peter addressing the U.S. Senate, huh? It's cute. You always work in pencil and ink in later?
Yes, that's right. Now, anything else?
Yeah, there is, Mr. Poppy. The whole business. Kagan's problem. I mean, if it's only a case of a gal not being true to a guy, I quit, and you get your dough back. I graduated from the over-the-transom class.
Louise Kagan is not the kind of girl who plays around. I know.
What makes you so sure?
Well, for one thing, an example. Maynard Roper.
Who?
Maynard Roper. He's an agent for Empire Features, the syndicate that handles my work. And though extremely handsome and what the ladies would call smooth, he got no place being, should I say, attentive to Louise. I could tell, I observed. Now, satisfied?
For the moment, I can still play that Roper just wasn't her type. I'll call you later, Mr. Poppy. Goodbye. And don't bother showing me out. I can find the way myself. Impulse number 1 said nuts for the funny on paper only, Mr. Poppy. But impulse number 2 said, quiet, Marlowe. It's the storm that's making you jumpy, and there's a $100 bill in your pocket. So I got into my car and drove the 1.5 miles to 717 Magnolia Boulevard, where I figured I'd look over the Kagan home grounds before it was time for me to show as the Talisman. As I drove past the place, I saw there was a light in the living room. And a woman, brunette and attractive, who was no doubt the lady of the house, paging through a magazine. And things stayed like that each time I came around the block. But 20 minutes later, when I parked in front of a nearby corner drugstore to get cigarettes, I forgot the lady of the house because getting out of a parked car in front of me was a man with sallow complexion and eyes borrowed from a hawk, easily seen by the rain-splashed light from the display windows. And when he hurried inside into a phone booth, I saw the patent leather hair Mr. Poppy had already described. When he got his call through and turned his back to the street, I moved quickly to his car, opened the front door, struck a match, and read the name and address on the owner's card strapped around the steering wheel. It was Bert Slack, 200 Central Avenue, San Francisco, California, the city in which Louise Kagan had recently chosen to spend a week. A clock on the dashboard reminded me it was 6:15 and time to head for my rendezvous with the Talisman. But a little voice deep inside said Mr. Bert Slack shouldn't. So, for what it was worth, I reached under the dashboard and yanked the ignition wire. And I got back into my car, hoping to gain 10 minutes, and headed toward the club on Lancashire Boulevard.
Another scotch and soda, sir? Keep the rain from soaking all the way through, you know.
Yeah, all right. Another scotch and soda. Hey, wait a minute. That lady there, the one in the blue cape just came in?
Oh, yes.
Ask her to come over to Mr. Poppy's table, will you? We'll order then.
All right, sir, in a jiffy.
Keep the rain from soaking all the way through. Isn't that awful?
Sir, I'm awfully sorry I'm late, Junior. Oh, excuse me. Waiter, you've made a mistake.
No, Mrs. Kagan. The mistake was mine on purpose. You wouldn't have known me by name.
Which is what?
Philip Marlowe. I'm a friend of Junius's. He was tied up with his work tonight and asked me to keep this date for him. Like a drink?
No, thanks. I haven't got the time. But why didn't Junius call me or leave a message here?
I don't know. Perhaps he forgot or...
Perhaps you're a liar. Perhaps he called my place after I left, then called here. Waiter.
Yes, ma'am?
Will you please check with the captain and see if anyone left a message for Mrs. Kagan, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And on your way back, 2 scotch and sodas, huh?
Yes.
Now, just a minute, Mr. Marlowe. I've already said no.
As long as we're playing things back, you already said I was a liar. Why?
Because Junius told me that my meeting with him would be personal. And since he's gone far enough out of his way to even call me on the telephone about it, it must also be important to him.
It is. As important to him as, say, San Francisco is to you.
So you're not really a friend of Junius Poppy?
Not buddy-buddy, no. But I am a friend of Bert Slack.
You know Slack?
Yeah. Now, why don't you sit down, Louise? Our drinks are coming.
Well, here we are. 2 scotches and sodas. Just the thing to keep the rate. Oh. I already said that once, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, well, 2 scotches and sodas just like you ordered. Oh, and no message for you, Mrs. Kagan.
Thank you. Mr. Marlowe, you know about San Francisco, you know about Bert Slack, and somehow or other you know I was supposed to meet Junius Poppy here, and he couldn't make it. So why don't you just sit here and think it out all by yourself, huh? I'm going.
Come back here.
Let go of my arm.
When I'm ready, gentle lady.
Which might be right now, don't you think?
Oh, Maynard, thank heaven you're here.
I usually am, Louise. Well, my good man, have you reached a decision? About the young lady's arm, I mean. Let go.
Maynard, please see that he doesn't follow me.
It'll be a pleasure, Louise. What are we drinking, Mr.
Marlowe. Scotch and soda. Wonder what keeps that from soaking through. Maynard Roper, the handsome syndicate agent Junius Poppy had tagged very smooth, was also very snide. When he slid into the booth next to me and we each had a fresh drink while Louise Kagan put distance between us, I knew that the urge I had to punch him in his finely chiseled Grecian nose could not be blamed on the stormy weather. It would be just as much fun on a sunny day. And a couple of minutes later, when he got up, flashed, glistening uppers and lowers at me, and started to leave with a worse than snide, "Bye-bye, boy." I had to hold on tight. Somewhere along the line, I slipped. "Hey, Roper, you forgot something."
Oh? Well, what is it?
This. Stereo. Also, you didn't thank me for your drink. It was rude of you. Bye-bye, boy. Outside, I felt better. As I walked around to the alley behind the club where I parked my car, I noticed that the rain had tightened up to a drizzle that was about ready to call it quits. That a corner of the sky already showed dark blue with a single star front and center. What I didn't notice until I was in line with my front fenders was company on hand.
I've been waiting for you.
He was small, with wide open eyes that flashed something close to hysteria, the length of a long, thin arm that was pointed at me and trembled while the hand awkwardly held a gun for what had to be his first time.
I'm Sid Kagan. I want to know why you're following my wife, what you have to do with her. I do know that you're a private detective and that your name is Philip Marlowe. That Junius Poppy hired you. That much I found out.
And you ought to be able to put the rest together yourself. You're a big boy now. Junius is worried about you, Kagan, because you in turn are worried about your wife. Look, he wants to help you all the way around.
I don't believe you. I only believe that people are bothering Louise, molesting her, driving her out of her mind, and I want to stop them. I want to protect her.
All right. You take a look at this picture and see if you can tell me whether or not this is one of those you say are molesting her.
Picture? Let me see.
I can't. It's only a calling card, Kagan.
Let go. Give me that gun.
Sure. With the clip out. Here. Now, also, I'll give you some advice. Go on home, Kagan, and soak your hot head in a bucket ice cold. It's the most you can do to help. Now, beat it before I get mad. Go on.
All right. I'll go. But remember, Marlowe, I'm still going to protect my wife.
Yeah, I'll remember, Kagan. You jerk. Nothing as stupid as an amateur with a gun.
Stand still, Marlowe. I'm no amateur.
Oh, fine.
I wouldn't bother looking under the hood, either. We're now even. One torn ignition wire deserves another,
Well, Mr. Slack. You in that 38 been waiting long?
Long enough. So you're a private detective, huh? Now, that's interesting. I'm a private eye, too.
Really? You find crumbs in every profession. Where do we go from here?
No place. It's a team, anyhow. I'm finished. I've done my little job. I'm leaving town. The personal business that brought me here is over and done with. All's well. You'd be smart to look at it that way yourself, Jack.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll go over big with my client with her.
What's the difference how it goes over with your client now? Why don't you read the papers?
Meaning what?
The latest edition. Here, catch. And read.
Junius Poppy.
Out loud, Marlowe, please.
Found dead in his Studio City home. Creator of Peter Pageant shot to death.
Surprised, huh?
Yeah, plenty.
Well, that's too bad. But I guess you'll get over it while you walk all the way down this alley without turning around. Now, go on. Move, Mr. Marlowe, as directed. Goodbye.
In a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, You'll say, where is the time gone? When you listen to Club 15, the great quarter-hour show of melody, song, and patter starring Dick Hames with the Andrews sisters, Evelyn Knight and the Modernaires. You'll like singing host Dick Hames. You'll like song stars Evelyn Knight and the Andrews sisters. In fact, you'll like everything about Club 15. Listen every weekday evening over most of these same CBS stations.
Tune in this fall for the show that you love best of all. Listen carefully, here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Fatted Calf.
When the man named Slack with a code of ethics to match said walk, I walked. And by the time I'd taken 10 steps, I knew that he was already gone, so I went back to my car, cursed my way through a fast repair job on the wiring, and headed to my late client's studio again. When I got there, the usual messy routine of cameras, tape measures, and notebooks was still in progress. And I was about to go inside. But changed my mind when I saw Louise Kagan step blithely out the door and walk almost jauntily over the flagstones that led from the house to the parking area. Hey, Louise, wait!
Oh, you again? Well, what do you want?
Just one good, morbid reason why you're not making with tears over what's inside.
I never lost any love in there. If I pretended I had, it wouldn't fool anybody for 5 minutes. Nobody liked Junior's Poppy, and I was no exception.
I'd go real easy with that kind of talk from now on if I were you.
What's that crack supposed to mean?
That not later than tomorrow morning, your husband, Sid, will take over Peter Pageant completely.
So?
So you struck gold, you're in, you got it made.
Are you implying that I had something to do with Junior's death?
Oh, I doubt that you pulled the trigger, baby, personally. But there's a good, solid connection, and I'm going to find it. Where's your husband? Inside with the police?
No. I came here looking for him. He must be at home.
Mm-hmm. How much do the cops know so far?
Nothing except that Junior's died between 2 and 3 hours ago. Look, why don't you trot in and ask them yourself, Quizmaster?
I don't think they can help me. You see, I'm still interested in a big, ugly question mark all wrapped up with San Francisco.
Look, Mr.
And before I turn loose of it, I'll understand it, believe me. I'm going over to your place now to talk to Sid. Can I give you a lift?
No, thank you.
Suit yourself. I'll get there ahead of you, and I might find something you wouldn't want me to know about.
All right. I'll ride with you. Let's go.
Let's do that. Get in.
Thanks so much for the ride. You know, I wouldn't have enjoyed it a bit more in a hearse.
You can drop the acid routine, Louise. I got a thick skin. Let's go inside.
Now, look, Marlowe. Sid isn't home. I can see from here the lights are out.
Only proves somebody turned a switch. Come on, open up.
All right. Come on.
That's better.
And since you're making yourself so at home, you might as well make yourself a drink.
Hey, it's a good idea. Nice little bar you got here, honey. Always easy to talk with a drink in your... Hey, Louise, these papers on the table. Ever seen them before?
What are they?
Contracts, I'd say. Yeah, all filled out. Just waiting for Kagan's signature. So your husband is now a full-fledged, big-time cartoonist. What do you know? Pretty fast work, huh?
Just what do you...
Creator of Peter Pageant's been dead not more than 3 hours, and already his successor's contracts are drawn up. No wonder Junius was bitter.
Maynard Roper had those drawn up beforehand, just in case.
Yeah, just in case somebody's patience ran out. Could be your husband's. I want to talk to him.
You're out of your mind.
He's been here, baby, and not long ago either. Here's his trench coat on the chair.
What?
Maybe he left again and maybe he didn't. Now, you take a look through the rest of the house, and if you find him, tell him to come on out. There's still time to talk. Well, go on. She gave me a glare that said she'd like to run my head through a garbage disposal unit and walk past me to the hall. As I held the trench coat, I saw an interesting smudge on the elbow of the right sleeve. It was an imprint of the little cartoon character, Peter Pageant, in the exact pose I'd seen earlier. Peter Pageant addressing the United States Senate. It could only mean one thing. The right sleeve of the coat I was holding had been jammed down into wet ink on Junius Poppy's drawing board shortly after I'd left the studio tonight. I was still looking at the coat when Louise came back. She started to say something, but the doorbell interrupted and kept on interrupting, and finally, she walked over and answered it. It was Bert Slack, the man from San Francisco. His face green and waxy would have worn the same look if he'd been falling out of a 10-story window and knew he couldn't hold on. He gripped the door casing with both hands, like a slow-motion fireman sliding down a pole. Suddenly, he jerked up one hand and pointed at Louise. He turned his eyes at me and tried to speak. Then he took 5 sliding, stumbling steps into the room and pitched headlong to the floor.
No!
The handle of a knife ringed by a patch of drying blood stuck out of his back between his shoulder blades.
Oh, Sid, you couldn't have...
You think Sid did it? Why, Louise? What's the reason?
No, I didn't mean that. Oh, get away, get out of here.
Not yet. Slack was a chief private eye from San Francisco, and you just got back from there. What happened up there, Louise? Why do you think your husband had to kill this guy?
No, I won't tell you. I don't know anything. Oh, leave me alone. Get away from me.
All right. Get hold of yourself. You're hysterical. Now listen to me. Where does Roper live? Come on. Maynard Roper, his address.
94 Addison Avenue. Why?
Because your husband might be there, and I want to talk to him now more than ever. You're on your own, baby. Get good and hysterical if you want to. I'll see you. 94 Addison Avenue was a shellac pine under ivy bungalow hiding behind 10 feet of manicured hedge and flanked by a small swimming pool that involved more chromium than water. When the door opened in response to a deep-toned gong, I saw several $1,000s worth of Chinese modern doodads behind the quilted silk smoking jacket wrapped around Maynard Roper, who first glared at helping have hated me and then changed his mind and smiled.
Well, hello, Marlowe. You seen our hot-tempered Louise lately?
Yeah, I just left her. She had the temper scared out of her when a guy died on a living room floor.
How horrible.
Yeah. This one had a knife in his back. He'd been carrying it for some time. Made it as far as Kagan's because he had something important to say, but he couldn't get it out. His name was Slack from San Francisco. Ever hear of him?
Slack? Why, no.
Hey, tell me, have you seen Sid Kagan recently? I mean, within the last hour?
Yes, twice. Once when I took his new contracts to his place, and again when he came here to talk them over. He left a few minutes ago.
Say where he was going?
No. Wait. He did say he intended to stop at a drugstore. He had a headache.
Which drugstore?
Well, the one down the street about a block.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but look, Marlowe, surely you don't really believe that Sid killed this man?
He had a motive.
You realize what you're saying? What have you got to go on, actually?
A slip his wife made, and a Peter Pageant that turned up out of place.
Oh, Louise was no doubt hysterical. Under those circumstances, I'd be, too. And as for Peter Pageant, don't forget that Sid's been practicing him for 6 years. He probably combs Peter Pageant's out of his hair at night.
Not this one. It was on a trench coat sleeve. I found it in Sid Kagan's living room. It was picked up from wet ink on Junior's Poppy's drawing board tonight. In fact, it was the last Peter Pageant Junior's drew before he was killed. That's what I've got to go on, Mr. Roper, so thanks and good night. I got in my car and drove fast till I found the drugstore and then pulled up across the street from the place and watched. A cab was waiting out in front. When the door opened in the store, I started to get out, but stopped again as Sid Kagan, the collar of his trench coat turned up high, and both hands thrust deep in his pocket, shouldered his way out. Got in a cab and drove away. I sat there for a few minutes until the crazy logic of the crazy pattern finally sank in. And I turned and drove back toward 94 Addison. A few houses down the street, I parked, got out, and after dropping my gun in my pocket, I left my hand curled around it and walked in past the chromium swimming pool up to the pine and ivy house and looked in. It was deserted. I turned and started for the gate again, but that was as far as I got.
I'm not inside, Marlowe. I'm here behind you. Don't move.
Automatic and all, huh? Didn't think you had nerve enough to stick here and wait for me, Roper?
I had no choice. Raise them up slowly and don't turn around. I'll take your gun first. Okay, now get inside.
So it was your trench coat I found at Kagan's, huh? You forgot and left it there when you took the contracts over.
Yes, and when you told me about it, I followed you. I saw you spot Kagan still wearing his coat at the drugstore, and I knew then that you'd come back here after me.
What?
Stand still.
Sure. You know, you might have gotten away with old Junius Poppy's murder because you were the only one with no motive, apparently. But you cluttered it up by killing your partner, Slack, too.
Slack was stupid and loud-mouthed. He'd have double-crossed me or let the cat out of the bag the first time he got drunk. Blackmailers have to keep their secrets or they go out of business fast. With you, it's obvious that I have no choice. It's you or me.
Yeah. You're a smart boy, Roper. How'd you manage to cut in on what Slack knew?
He tried to find out from me whether Sid loved his wife enough to pay to keep her out of jail and how much he could demand and expect to get. I told you he was stupid.
Believe me, chum, the idea of getting rid of Junior so Sid could get enough money to make blackmailing him worthwhile was quite a switch.
But one a good agent might think of. Stand still. Don't try for anything on that table.
Why not? What are you saving me for? More conversation?
No. I just wanted to get my breath. I've had quite a day, remember? All right. Let's go now.
Where?
Out back to the garage. Go on.
Just Marlowe!
Baby, Louise!
Marlowe, is he dead?
I don't know. I don't think so. You sure picked a sweet time to show up, baby. How'd you manage it?
I was out there a long time listening. When I realized what was happening, I came in.
Yeah. Save my thick skin or kill a blackmailer.
Well, once I killed a man, unintentionally. I didn't want to do it again, even him. But tonight, when I thought Sid had stabbed Bert Slack because of it, I couldn't stand it any longer. I came over to find you and turned myself in.
The big question mark on San Francisco?
Oh, there was a brawl. I got mixed up in it. A man had a gun, and in the struggle, it went off and killed him. I was scared silly. I ran away, but Slack had seen the whole thing. He even got the gun with my fingerprints all over it. And, well, that's that. Let's go, Marlowe.
Yeah. Okay, baby. Let's go. Two refills, please.
Okay.
Better have some more, Sid. It's going to be a long night.
Yes. I still can't get it through my head that this has happened, Marlowe. I can't realize it. Slack saw that fight in San Francisco, got the gun with Louise's fingerprints on it, and came here to blackmail her.
That's right. He went to Roper for information on you, and Roper was smart enough to peg it and cut in. Killed Junior, so you'd get more money by taking over the strip, and then...
And then he and Slack began to fight between themselves and Maynard killed him, too.
Mm-hmm.
How can there be people like that?
Same way there can be rattlesnakes, black widow spiders, and cancer.
Marlowe, what is going to happen to Louise?
I don't know, Sid.
Oh.
She's got something now she didn't have before.
What is that?
You. You loved her all the time, but she didn't know what that meant. She does now. Look, she might be finished with the police. Maybe you better go over, huh?
Yes, I guess I'd better. Good night, Phil. And thank you.
So long, Sid.
And there's something else really nice about the adventures of Philip Marlowe, the radio writers carrying through the style of Raymond Chandler, not only in the Van Heflin incarnation, but the shows we're listening to today with Gerald Moore. Those shows had the lead character philosophizing at the end, talking softly to the audience and trying to wrap everything up and make sense out of it.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or the grave. This started with a wreck and went from there to double murder over $75,000 worth of glitter that nobody got in the end. Because I found out just in time what was fishy about the tale of the mermaid. At 9:30, I was still in my office, tucking in the loose ends on a report, while I listened with half an ear to the fabric of city sounds rising from the street below. Fabric ripped suddenly by tires clawing concrete. The shattering crash that followed brought me to my feet. It was a traffic accident, and a bad one. I ran to the window, but it had happened around the corner out of sight from my office. So I watched others run for it and remembered grimly that every 30 seconds, somewhere in the country, a thing like that happened. And 1 out of every 16 minutes was fatal. I wondered who had been chewed up in a chromium meat grinder this time as I listened to first the police, then the emergency ambulance, and finally the scavenger truck cleaned the wreck off the street. After that, I went back to my report again and tried to forget about it. But an hour later, that same accident came back into my office.
Mr. Marlowe.
Yeah?
This is Corey Riggs.
Yes, Miss Riggs?
I'm a nurse at the Warwick Emergency Hospital.
Uh-huh.
About an hour ago, a man named Stanley Ott was brought in, and he's been calling for you.
For me?
He was badly injured in an automobile accident on Cahuenga on his way to your office.
Wait a minute, who did you say this was?
I'm the nurse assigned to Mr. Ott at the hospital. I just got off duty, and I had to wait until I was relieved before I could call you.
I see. Well, look, Miss Riggs, I'd like to help in any way I can, but it's 9:30.
Mr. Marlowe, Mr. Ott gave me $250 and told me to call you.
Yeah, I know, but...
And he said that I should give you $200 and keep the $50 for myself.
Oh, fine. Now I'll get clients by proxy.
I beg your pardon?
Nothing. I'll be right over, Miss Riggs. I didn't know anyone named Stanley Ott, and I felt a little like an ambulance chaser, but I was only 15 minutes from getting to the emergency hospital. As I walked up the ambulance ramp, a smart-looking brunette came toward me.
Mr. Marlowe? I'm Corey Riggs, the nurse who called.
Oh, hello. Can I see him now?
It wouldn't do any good. You see, he went into a coma a few minutes after I called him.
Oh, too late, is that it?
Let's move away from the door, shall we?
Sure.
You see, Mr. Marlowe, before he went into the coma, Ott wasn't rational. He was raving.
About what sort of thing?
About you and a girl.
Oh?
As near as I could make out, she's supposed to meet someone tonight at 2 o'clock and collect $75,000.
It's quite an assignment. Who's the girl?
I don't know. All Ott said was something about a plaid coat as identification.
Plaid coat, huh? Any idea what he wanted me to do? Chaperone, maybe?
No, he kept pleading, stop her, she can't do it. So I'm sure that he wanted you to prevent this girl from keeping that appointment. For some reason, it seems absolutely imperative to him.
Where was this 2 o'clock meeting supposed to take place?
I have no idea.
Oh, fine. So it boils down to this. A girl we don't know in a plaid coat is meeting someone we don't know at a place we don't know at 2 a.m. The man who wants me to prevent it is in a coma and can't talk. Didn't he say anything else, Miss Riggs?
He just kept saying, you've got to help me, Marlowe. It's life and death.
You know, we can stir up an awful hornet's nest poking our noses into $75,000 worth of business we know nothing about. I doubt that we can do any good anyway, because we don't have enough to go on. If he said anything else to even point in the right...
Marlowe.
What?
Oh, wait a minute. He mumbled something once about a Constantine.
Constantine?
Yes, it comes here.
What is it, a boat?
I don't know.
I felt a little weird as I left the hospital because I was traveling on strictly second-hand information as to what had gone on in a delirious mind. But in spite of that, there was still enough coherence in what Corey Riggs told me to make a case. My first stop was a phone booth and a call to the police, where I found out from the accident report that Stanley Ott was 30, unmarried, small-time lawyer, and an L.A. resident with a clean police record. My next call was the harbor master's office at San Pedro.
Constantine? No?
After that, a long, futile reconnaissance of the waterfront from one end to the other. It left me 1 solid hour later out at the end of a tottering, almost abandoned concession pier in Venice. Swearing in blind frustration at the black, seething ocean below. I was licked.
Ain't thinking of jumping in, are you, pal? Hey, you look like you lost your best friend.
I did, Buster. Me. I was sunk with a Constantine in 1870.
Constantine? You know him, too, huh?
Him?
Yeah.
You mean Constantine's a guy?
Sure, pal. There's a shack there. Wait till the beacon light comes around again. You see? See that?
Well, I'll be. Prince Constantine Chevnov. Akos has promised to meet him, personal consultant by appointment only.
Yeah, but that's a fake.
No fool.
All them guys, he owes everybody around, even at the Ziggy, me. For $1, and that's something. But he's a genuine Russian princess. Hey, where you going?
Have a look. Prince Constantine Chevnov could be my boy.
He wouldn't want you nosing around here, pal.
That's too bad. Does he live here?
Yeah, in the back. He runs his pitch in the front where all them green curtains are.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I suppose he always leaves his door unlocked, huh?
What? Whoa. Hey, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I'll bet. There'll be a light switch here someplace. Oh, yeah. Now, let's see what... Oh.
Holy catch. Goodbye, mister. Goodbye.
As the little wharf rats darted through the door and scampered away into the darkness, I went over to the body, face up on the cheap, gaudy carpet of the seance room. He was about 35 in a substantial gray business suit stained red in front where the bullets had gone in. His wallet was missing. There was no other identification on him. His gray snap-brim hat was spilled a few feet away, so I picked it up to look for initials and found instead a small file card stuck into the sweatband. Typed at the top was the heading, The Mermaid. Ona Otis Van Owen, only relative Evelyn Van Owen, niece. Mermaid stolen November 12, 1948. Insurance paid in full. In ink, Van Owen died August 1949, and under that in pencil, Constantine Chevnov, Venice Pier, and Louis Paradise, 913 Seacrest Road, Pacific Palisades. It took 20 minutes to find 913 Seacrest. And when I stopped and got close enough, from what I saw through an open window made Constantine's trap I just left look as reliable as a post office by comparison. It was a miniature Egyptian temple, exotic and dainty, sickening lushness of red velvet and yellow silk. And in the center of the room was a bloated little man balancing a long cigarette holder in one hand while he simpered into a honey-colored French phone in the other.
Was an arrangement.
I moved up quietly until I could hear him.
A sentimental agreement. That is right, Evelyn. Your Uncle Otis and I were the best of friends for years. Well, thank you, child. Where are you now? Oh, the servitor. Good, good. I advise you to stay there until a few minutes before 2, and you will not forget to wear a plaid coat just to be sure I won't make a mistake.
What is it?
What?
Sideshow? Careful now. Sudden noises like this gun going off upset, Mr. Paradise. They find so interesting inside.
Conversation. About the mermaid, probably.
Uh-oh. I'm glad you dropped that one, Bud, because I'd bump you for a nickel, say nothing to 75 G.
I don't talk things over with punks. I reserve it for the head man. Go do something about it.
Okay, Bud, I will. Go on, move. Round to the door and inside. Mr. Paradise gets some kind of kick out of stepping on big guys like you.
The gopher face shoved his automatic into the small of my back and marched me inside, where the air was thick with cheap incense. The bloated little king with the long cigarette holder had stepped out. But he came back fast when the gopher called him.
Hey, Mr. Paradise.
He stared at me from across the room, and his nostrils flared for an instant. And he simply again sidled toward me. The gopher dug at my spine with his gun.
Well, now, what is this, Rudy?
Snooper, Mr. Paradise. Caught him outside, peeking in the window.
Oh, it is a bad night for snoopers. Who are you?
Name's Marlowe.
And the business?
Snooping.
He knows about the mermaid, Mr. Paradise.
He does he? How much do you know? Speak up.
She's got a fishtail instead of legs.
You dare to joke?
Don't stand here and take it, big man. You asked for it. Make a move and I'll drop you.
I know what you are, Marlowe, but not how much you have found out. Now tell me, because the next time I slap you, it will carry more weight than my bare hand, I promise.
You have company, Paradise.
Did I get it?
No, you keep this baboon under control, Rudy. I will answer the door. Oh, Prince, come in.
Paradise, what do you mean? How far do you think you can go with my reputation? Do you want to get me hanged?
Wife, what is the matter, Constantine? You are upset.
Upset? I'm out of my mind. Oh, what a shock. And such a stupid thing for you to do.
What are you raving about?
He found that body on his front room floor, right, Constantine?
Exactly. Precisely. And what is more, I did not put it there. Of all the places in the world, why did you pick this one? Paradise. Who is this? This stranger here?
If you would close your mouth and open your eyes more often, Prince Constantine, you would not be the nervous wreck you are. This is Mr. Marlowe, another snooper.
Another one. Paradise, listen to me. It's better if we quit. It's better if we don't try it tonight. It's out of hand. I don't like it now. We should get away and come back next year and do it.
You jellyfish, there is nothing to worry about now. Insurance investigators often work in pairs. Is that not so, Marlowe?
Your pitch, round man. You don't need any help from me.
You are so right. Rudy and I caught the first at your place, Constantine. Now we have the second one here. That is all there are. The danger is over. It's clear sailing from now on.
But what about that cadaver you had the audacity to leave lying in my cell?
Oh,
what about that?
Forgive me, Constantine. That was a necessity. I am sorry. Now listen.
Hey, Rudy. This go on all the time?
Yeah. Ain't it awful?
And think of all the champagne, caviar, and buffalo stroganoff you can buy with the mermaid.
I don't care.
Just a bracelet, but at the same time it is $75,000 worth of diamonds and platinum.
Okay, Paradise. I trust you. Now, we go, huh? My, Gnazdo.
Yes, Princess, Gnazdo it is.
Mr. Paradise. What should I do with the big boy here?
Yeah, you're kind of leaving a loose end around, aren't you, Fatty?
If I had the time, Marlowe, I would beat the arrogance out of you a little chunk at a time. Rudy.
Yeah?
You've got no initiative, but you do have imagination. So use it. Goodbye, Marlowe.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, it's a big break in entertainment for you and a big break in a career for some talented youngsters when Horace Height's original Youth Opportunity Program opens the door to fame and fortune every Sunday evening on CBS. Popular Horace Heidt is host to young folks who want to break into show business. And every Sunday evening, one lucky winner does break in, to his delight and your listening pleasure. Yes, for music, comedy, thrills, and all-around fun. Listen to Horace Heidt Sunday evenings, another great CBS show heard over most of these same stations.
Tune in this fall for the shows that you love best of all.
Listen carefully.
Here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Tale of the Mermaid.
Paradise hesitated at the door, snarled the suggestion that this henchman used his imagination in disposing of me, and left in lockstep with the white Russian screwball, I got the point. But even if I'd missed it entirely, one look into Brother Rudy's eyes would have done the trick. There were no pupils, just slits of lethal viciousness. Windows to his warped little mind where I could practically see the montage going on. It ran from ancient thumbscrews by candlelight up to a generous beating by street lamp with brass knucks. I felt a cold knot grow in the pit of my stomach. As Rudy, with a cannon in his hand, pointed at my head, started toward me. And from someplace outside, I got a break. Two romantic cats. Rudy spun toward the sound.
One chance to a customer, Rudy, and you missed. Kill you, Marlowe. I'll blow your head off.
Not tonight, gentle soul. Give it to me. I don't want you to hurt yourself until we've had a chance to talk. That's it. Now, lie down. I knew there was some reason why I like cats, their voices. Okay, Rudy, you've had enough rest. Now let's get back to business.
Now, wait a minute.
Come on, get up. We're going to talk.
Wait, hold it, please. No reason for any more rough stuff. I'll cooperate.
That's better. Where did Paradise and the Tinus head for? The Gnazdo, where is it?
I don't know.
Come on, you said there was no reason for rough stuff, remember?
Ow! Yeah, I remember. That Gnazdo, that's something I never heard of.
An unhappy coincidence, Rudy. It's one thing I'm interested in.
Yeah, wait. Must be something else you want to know. Something else I could tell you that... Hey, what are you going to do?
You mean you can't tell, Rudy? That's
Keep away.
funny. All it takes is a little imagination. With Rudy out of the way, I started through the place looking for all-important answer to what was a Gnazdo. The 20 minutes of turning drawers and closets inside out revealed nothing more exciting than Louis Paradise's address book. First names only. And a picture of a girl named Toodles who belonged to the Roaring Twenties. And by this time should have caught a death of cold. His sister, no doubt. But no lead on the Gnazdo. So on the slim chance that my client Stanley Ott might already be back in this world and able to help, I got outside in my car and drove to the first drugstore where, after checking the phone books under everything from bars to bathhouses for a Gnazdo and getting no place, I called Corey Riggs at the nurse's home.
No, Marlowe. Stanley Ott's still unconscious. I just talked to the night nurse on his floor. They expect him to come out of it soon. Why? What happened?
Well, too much to explain now, Corey, but that girl, the one in the plaid coat, I found out that her name's Evelyn Van Owen, and she's staying at the Surf Hotel. Now, see if that much checks with Ott when he comes to, will you?
All right.
Oh, also, there's a diamond-studded item called the Mermaid, which accounts for that $75,000 he mentioned. Now, Constantine and the Pier now equal a phony Russian prince who runs a spook palace out on the old Venice Pier. Now, you got all that?
Uh-huh.
Good. Now, look, honey, listen real hard. Before Ott passed out, did he by any chance say the word Gnazdo?
Gnazdo?
Yeah.
No. What does it mean?
I don't know. I think it's the name of a place.
Oh, have you checked the phone books?
Yeah. It's no dice, Corey. Also, I checked one Mr. Louis Paradise, who you might mention...
Marlowe, wait a minute.
What's the
Hold
matter?
the wire, will you? There's a girl here, one of the nurses, who's trying to tell me something.
Oh.
It's the Gnazdo, Marlowe. Shh, wait a minute. She knows something about it here. It's Rosemary. You talk to her.
Hello.
Hello. You want to know what Gnazdo means?
Yeah.
Well, it's Russian, like Pashlamaya Gnazdo.
Oh, that's so. Well, what does it mean in English, Rosemary? Fast, please, is important.
Well, that means let's go to my place. Gnazdo's the word for nest, sort of like cozy apartment or cottage.
My place, nest. You sure, man?
Well, I'm positive. I was an army nurse in the war, and I spent 2 years in Germany after the shooting part was over. 2 years, a half a block away from the Russian zone.
That's close enough. Thanks a million, Rosemary.
Don't mention it. Here's Corey.
Oh.
That do it, Marlowe?
Yeah, I think so. At any rate, unless I'm way off base, it's where both the Mermaid and all parties concerned are going to rendezvous at 2 a.m. That's less than a half hour from now. The Prince's place on the pier. I want to be early, so goodbye, Corey. I'll call again when I know more. Yeah, and give my everlasting love to girlfriend Rosemary. She all is show a peach. Still a few parts missing, the way there always are. As I drove fast for the old Venice Pier and added as I went along, it came out something like the theme of paradise and Prince whatchamacallit, ready, willing, and able to pay $75,000 for a piece of jewelry that one Evelyn Van Owen now owns. A mermaid, which according to the data I'd found on the insurance man's body had once been stolen from Evelyn's late uncle. But I left it there when my rear-view mirror said a long gray sedan that had been tagging me discreetly for the last 3 blocks. Now being indelicate about it and closing fast. The driver was old pal Rudy, and as he came abreast, he headed for me.
All right. You're okay, Mac. Don't you worry about a thing. We'll have you out of there in a minute. Hey, can't you knock out that horn?
Knocked out the horn. What do you think we're trying to do? It ain't so easy getting my hand past the frigid hood. You know.
Oh.
Well, that's better.
Hey, cabby, what'd I hit?
Well, in order of their appearance, Mac, your car into a telephone pole, and then you into your dashboard.
Yeah, you're sure lucky you bounced off the curb first, mister.
Okay.
Slowed you down plenty. Oh, hey, here comes the ambulance.
Yeah.
Look at the roll.
Not for me. I'm all right. Hey, come on, cabby, help me out of this, will you?
Sure, that's what we're trying to do, but don't you worry, the ambulance ain't for you. It's for the guy that sideswiped you and then tried to get away. I see what happened, and I went after him in my cab. He turned into a dead end, no less, trying to shake me. Is he a mess? But I guess he'll live all right. Hey, what's he got against you anyhow, Mac?
Just my life. Listen, your cab's still all right?
Sure, there's someplace you gotta go?
There is. The old Venice Concessions Pier, my friend, and the sooner the better. Come on. Hitting my head against the dashboard was exactly what I needed. Because right then and there, the method of Rudy's handiwork made me think of an angle that I'd neglected almost completely. My unconscious client had not wanted me to get the mermaid or the $75,000, but to stop Evelyn from keeping her rendezvous, which at this point I figured could mean but one thing. It was exactly 2 o'clock when the cab slammed to a stop near the pier. And I piled out and ran onto the empty, fog-dampened flanking that led to Prince Constantine's shack. Nothing but mist moved over the pier. No unusual sound broke the pattern of waterfront noises. And I thought momentarily that I was still in time to prevent what Stanley Out somehow knew was going to happen. That Louis Paradise and his eccentric sidekick intended to get the mermaid from Evelyn, but pay off in only one way. I ran to the rear of the shack on stilts and got close to the half-open door where I could see and hear and found out just what I'd expected. In the storeroom, spread out and very still on the oil-soaked planks that were a makeshift floor, was a lifeless form of a girl, who, according to the plaid coat she wore, was the late Evelyn Van Owen. And kneeling close to a gun in one hand, the sparkling mermaid in the other, was her executioner, Louis Paradise. Next to him is number 1 boy, Prince Constantine Chevnov, not very happy.
Oh, a fool to shoot her was stupid.
Yes. $75,000, stupid. Or would you have preferred that I pay Miss Van Owen in cash? I had to kill her.
Yes, Paradise, but the gun, so much noise, we can't afford to attract attention.
The 2 corpses on hand, I should say not, Prince. Don't try it, Louis.
Oh, the mermaid. The space between the boards. The mermaid. Oh.
It's in the water, Chevnov. Shame.
Yeah. Yes, it's a shame. We did so much, worked so hard.
Yeah, killed so often. Gonna run for it, Your Highness?
Run? Nah. No, Paradise is dead there. Without Paradise, I'm not so brave. I will do as you say.
Keep quiet. Don't make a sound, Chevnov. We got company.
Quiet!
Pardon me. Can you please tell me where Louis Paradise can be found?
It's Louis Paradise there. Who are you?
Evelyn Van Owen.
What? Van Owen? Oh. The woman who was supposed to sell the mermaid to Paradise?
That's right. But on my way over here, just after I left my hotel, somebody struck me, knocked me out. He took my coat there and my purse and ran.
Your purse with a mermaid, no doubt.
Yes.
And that, Miss Van Owen, makes this angle shooter here. Yeah. The very dead nurse, Corey Riggs. Let's get out of here.
Well, there's nothing to worry about, Miss Van Owen. Stanley's going to be all right.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Why is it women always cry when they're so happy? Huh?
I don't know, but it's effective. Well, I'll run along now. Goodbye.
Bye, Doctor.
Bye. You know, Mr. Marlowe, when I was in Stanley's room with the doctor, Stan said he didn't lose control of his car at all when he had that accident in front of your place. He was run off the road
By a gray sedan, I know. Because I had the same treatment. It was one of Louis Paradise's henchmen, Rudy. Where's your car, honey? I'll walk you out.
Just outside the front door.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, did I tell you why Rudy roughed him up?
Yes, in a way. You see, I told Stanley about the deal with the mermaid, and he thought it all sounded a little phony.
Can't understand why.
He's a lawyer, you know.
No, legal type mind. Yeah.
He said meeting anyone at 2 in the morning was ridiculous, so he investigated as much as he could because he was worried about me. We're engaged, you
No,
know.
I never would have guessed.
And he found out that Mr. Paradise was a fence. And Stan said that probably he never intended to give me the $75,000 for the mermaid at all. That they intended to kill me.
Here we are. Tell me, why did you get in touch with Paradise in the first place?
I was just following Uncle Otis's instructions. He gave me the mermaid when he was dying. He told me if I wanted money to sell it only to a Mr. Paradise, but not to mention it to anyone.
Your uncle faked a robbery, collected the insurance money, and then let you sell the mermaid to a fence, huh? Just lucky for you that Nurse Corey Riggs was clever. She put together just enough of Otis's gibberish to know that there was something good to be had, and then got me to unravel it for her.
She got killed taking my place.
When she tried to collect your $75,000.
Yeah. Oh, here's my car.
Well, Evelyn, for a little while you were a rich woman. Now it's all gone. How do you feel?
Well, I'm alive and in love.
Yes, well, that answers my question. Good night, baby, and good luck. When I left the hospital, I wandered back to the old Venice Pier in Prince Constantine's Nasdo. It was 5 in the morning, and the police had finished cleaning the place up. But the word had gotten out. A crowd had gathered. They always do. Curious, restless, sordid crowd, equipped with everything from grappling hooks to homemade diving helmets, all climbing over each other for a chance to fish for the mermaid. She who had brought death to 3 people, injury to 2 others in the course of one night. And suppose they found her, huh? What then? A lot of glittering pieces of white coal set in a metal frame we call precious. Look at the suckers grab. That's all, Marlowe. Home and to bed.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman McDonnell. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Rita Lynn, John Daner, Michael Ann Barrett, Wilms Herbert, Junius Matthews, Herb Vigran, and Mark Lawrence. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard Orant. Be sure and be with us next week when Philip Marlowe says...
It started with a terrified woman lost in a maze of memories she couldn't explain. And waiting for her outside an open window was death.
Another show has joined the CBS Sunday Night Parade. It's The Contented Hour, starring Buddy Clark and featuring the finest in popular and semi-classical music. It comes to you on most of these CBS stations for the first time tomorrow night, making its debut on CBS the same night as Red Skelton and Edgar Bergen and Charles McCarthy. Yes, this fall, you hear them all on CBS. This is Paul Masterson speaking. Now stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this week. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. And join me for more, saluting the adventures of Philip Marlowe.